Okay, the hour's reached 5 o'clock. I'll call the Urban Renewal Authority meeting to order. If I could have a roll call, please.
Commissioner Dennehy? Absent. Commissioner Grantham? Absent. Commissioner Hamrick?
Here.
Commissioner Maloney?
Here.
Commissioner Reeser?
Here.
Commissioner Smisher?
Here.
Commissioner Stein?
Here.
Commissioner Tracy? Absent. Commissioner Troutman?
Here.
Commissioner Worthington?
Here.
Chairman Payne.
Here. Thank you very much. I'd ask you to stand with me to pledge allegiance. Thank you. Do you have any citizens that wish to speak to the Urban Renewal Authority that's items that are not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on. Consent agenda. Approval of minutes for November 5th, 2025. And a budget status for third quarter 2025. Cash disbursements 11/6/25 to 12/3/25. So I invite the executive director for the agenda and consent agenda.
As you just read the consent agenda, there is an item on the agenda for an executive session. We do not need an executive session, so I'd recommend removing that when the consent agenda is approved.
Okay. All right. Entertain a motion. Right. Go ahead.
Thanks. Sorry. And apologies that I didn't catch this earlier. I think that the motion regarding the, in the minutes from the November 5th meeting, that the motion regarding the amendments to the 2026 budget is very slightly off. It mentions removing 500 per line item in the purchase services line items. And it isn't actually all of the purchase service line items where funds are being withdrawn. So if there aren't any other questions or concerns, I'm happy to make the motion with the amendment to the minutes from the last meeting to rectify that. Is that?
Well, and the fact that I didn't lead the Pledge of Allegiance because I was on a craps table in Vegas.
I can rectify that as well. Was it Vice Chair Hamrick?
That is correct.
If I can find the budget for 2026, I just want to get the line items correct. So, Commissioner Payne, I move that we approve the consent agenda with two amendments to the minutes from the November 5th meeting, changing the Pledge of Allegiance to read Vice Chairman Hamrick read the Pledge of Allegiance, and amending the motion regarding the 2026 budget to say amending the building systems grant line item to $75,000 and removing 500 per line item in the purchase services category from postage, freight, printing, publications, advertising, membership fees, and meals.
Second.
And in the agenda itself, removing the executive session.
Okay.
Second.
All right. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
And hopefully Cindy got
Commissioner Hamrick?
Aye.
Maloney?
Aye.
Reeser?
Aye.
Smisher?
Aye.
Stein?
Aye.
Troutman?
Aye.
Worthington?
Aye.
Chairman Payne.
Aye. Thank you.
And may I ask who made the second? I could not tell.
The motion was made by Commissioner Smisher. The second was by Commissioner Reeser.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sorry, Cindy. I'm used to you being in here. All right, we'll move on to the financial report. Ask the treasurer for a report.
All right. November beginning balance was $1,205,569.04. We had a loan payment to the city, $5,421.16. Fire line reimbursement, $5,000. Admin fees to the city, $10,548.13. Then we had two payments to Pharisee Ford, one for $3,009.20, $1,388.59, which leaves us a November ending balance of $1,190,201.50. Thank you.
Okay, any questions? Thank you very much. Move on to the Executive Director report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I think for the Executive Director report, the big thing that we have been working on has been 4 Mile Ranch, and we've been discussing most of that this evening. I don't have any other urban renewal updates. Rick, do you have anything?
Nothing big. We have new owners of the Harrison Building on the 600 block of Main. They will be looking at doing some facade work in 2026. So they'll be applying for probably 3 storefront facade grants. Other than that, no, we're looking at potential life safety grant potentially for the Abbey Event Center. As they move forward in 2026, it'd be nice to get that project done and open. I have nothing else.
I see on my agenda here, for my chairman's agenda, a resolution for adopting the 2026 budget.
Yes, sir. So at the last meeting, we had a motion to approve the agenda, but it did not specifically mention the resolution. So just to make sure that we are covering all our bases, we would like to have a motion with the resolution in it to approve the agenda, or to approve Resolution 2 for the budget.
To approve the resolution, which didn't happen last month, but so covering our bases this month.
Yes, sir.
So you need a motion to approve the resolution?
Yes. Last month, we had a motion to approve the budget, but it did not specifically mention the resolution. So
Okay,
that-
yeah, let's
that's what
cover
we're
our
doing.
bases, so I'll entertain a motion
Okay,
to
I
do
move,
that.
I'll do it. I move. Resolution 2, Series 2025, entitled "A Resolution to Adopt the 2026 Budget for the Canyon City Area for Reinvestment Expansion and to make appropriations for the same." I move that we adopt.
Second?
Okay, we had a motion by Commissioner Stein. Commissioner Reeser, did you make the second? Is that correct? Yes. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call. Had to remember which meeting I'm in. Roll call,
Commissioner
please.
Hamrick,
Aye.
Maloney,
Aye.
Reeser,
Aye.
Schmisher,
Aye.
Stein,
Aye.
Troutman,
Aye.
Worthington,
Aye.
Chairman Payne.
Aye, thank you. All right, do we want to move on to item B then, 4 Mile Urban Renewal Area Discussion and Instructions? Wants to take this, Ryan?
Yeah, so we're continuing the discussion on 4 Mile Ranch. If there are additional questions at this time, ultimately with this item, we are looking for direction and a motion to, if the commission is ready for that, to move forward with negotiating agreements with the taxing entities and starting the 120-day clock. But you have just received a whole bunch of information and probably have some additional questions, so I think we should open it back up to there. And Rick, I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to cover with this particular topic.
Okay, additional questions, because we had a lot thrown at us here. Go ahead, Commissioner Reeser.
I have a question about the sewer district. So if we're adding an estimated 680 new residential units, what is that going to do to the capacity of the Fremont Sanitation District?
It'll increase the usage, right? And so we've been in contact with them, meeting with them a number of times to review what our plans are. And so with, as I mentioned earlier, with electrical, every step we take is going to involve them to make sure that they're satisfied and it's within their bounds and their needs. So they're lockstep with us. They have been for a while. It will impact their capacities, but we want to make sure that they're along with us and making sure that we're accommodating their needs as we continue to grow.
And can I add something to that real fast? Sorry, didn't mean to cut someone off there.
Go ahead, Andy.
I was just going to say that the financial structure that's been discussed tonight, the idea would be, again, going back to the metropolitan districts, the metropolitan districts would be not just, obviously new development wouldn't just be adding, demand on the existing sanitation services, but the metro district funds the expansion of those sewer lines, and sometimes it would potentially, hopefully not, fund need to increase the capacity, say with wastewater treatment plant. So a lot of the capital expansion costs are going to be covered within this financial plan that we've discussed. And so I just want to highlight that. Jonathan's absolutely right. The district, like any other development, all of these districts, all of the impacted entities are going to be lockstep with this as the development moves forward. But funding the public infrastructure to serve it is going to be part of this public financing strategy.
Yeah, what I was going to say, I guess similar to those lines that Andy just mentioned. When the original development was done, it was sized for however many units the original development was. And a lot of that infrastructure was, the main trunk infrastructure was already built out when they originally did that. Additionally, the sanitation district has various agreements with the metro districts to make sure that they're covered, throughout the future of the development.
Thank you, Ryan. Is this the venue where we should start talking about concerns? Because as a school district representative, I have some pretty major concerns about including us, or should I save that discussion for the negotiation period?
Andy, you want to, I think it's good to hear concerns at any time.
I agree.
So please let us know, and then we'll certainly continue those discussions moving forward.
Okay, well, I'll just say right off the bat that the mill levy override and the bond money is off the table. That's something that the state doesn't backfill, and we struggle financially as a district anyway, significantly every year. So that just can't be part of it. And I'm sure you're aware of the volatility of the state budget. We have a new School Finance Act, but it's not being implemented because the state budget is so horrendously in deficit, and they have to have a balanced budget. And I don't know if you guys know about the history of school education funding. There was a huge deficit, and we called it the BS factor, but it actually stands for the budget stabilization factor, where they owed school district millions of dollars. So I just want to caution you that funding isn't really stable from year to year. So just some of my concerns starting out.
We've heard that, thank you. And,
go ahead, Jonathan.
And we've heard that, thank you for bringing that up. And, Andy has a flexible and conservative approach with the urban renewal area impact report and the assessments. And we have a few ways to be able to navigate around some of those challenges.
So if I can, I just really want to thank you for bringing up that point, because as I mentioned before, the impact report is required to forecast tax revenues at 100%, right? But that doesn't mean that's what the revenue sharing agreements are going to reflect. And so you're absolutely right. Every URA plan I've ever worked on in the state has always shared back the school district's bond redemption levy and the mill levy override. Only on very rare occasions is the mill levy override ever brought in because of what you just said. There's no backfill. To the point about the budget stabilization in the state, I'm not going to get into that. I agree. There's some uncertainty there. But ultimately, I think when we've sat down with the school district before, one of the benefits, and we can get into this more when we have this TIF revenue sharing agreement, is that this plan should generate more students to the school district. And one of the ways that a school district's budget can increase is by increasing the number of students. And the only concern really is, well, if we increase students, do we have funding for new teachers? And most importantly, do we have funding for new capital improvements? And it's our understanding that some of the facilities are underutilized versus, over capacity. And if that's wrong, then that's exactly why we have this 120-day discussion, so that we can look at all of those angles and make sure that the revenue sharing agreement is, beneficial to the school district while still making sure that the project moves forward.
Thank you, Andy, and we'll get into all those gory details when we actually sit down and talk.
I can't wait.
Okay, Commissioner Schmisher.
Thank you. I have one follow-up question about the school district and then just a couple of additional kind of higher-level questions. Just because I know you are an expert, Andy, on all things URA. I know that the school district gets the share back from the state on the SFA portion. With the current URA, even though this would be a second URA within the same boundary, like that doesn't change anything, is that right? Like they would still get shared back even though it's a second URA in the same school district?
Well, maybe I'm misunderstanding you, and Ryan and Rick maybe can answer this better than I can.
Or sorry, I'm saying share back, I mean backfill. They're getting backfilled from the state on the current URA. If a second URA was created at 4 Mile that's impacting the same school district, does that change whether or not the state backfills or at what rate? Or do they always backfill 100% of all URA for the school district?
Well, maybe I have to look at the original revenue sharing agreement. Just high level, every urban renewal plan, so you have an existing plan. This is a new plan. Every plan has its own set of revenue sharing agreements, and they might not look like the previous ones. Sometimes they're the same, sometimes they're not. It just depends on the needs of the plan. As far as the state share back goes, maybe there was a situation in the old plan, and Rick, Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong on this, in which maybe if there was a shortfall in the state share back, that the plan wouldn't collect as much. I don't know. Rick and Ryan, I'll turn it over to you. Is that what's being referred to here?
May I interrupt? I guess the concern is since we already have state backfilling in one community, in one school district, are they going to backfill a second one? Because if the answer is no, we're out.
Yeah, I've never seen that impact. So to that particular question, the state, from my understanding, is always required to fund the School Finance Act with a total funding formula based upon your pupil count at that general fund levy. And if there's a shortfall based upon, not having enough property taxes generated within your school district, that shortfall is made up through the state backfill, right? There's actually only a handful of school districts throughout the state that generate enough revenue at their assessment where they don't require state backfill.
That's correct. Ski resorts, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's only ski resorts.
Right.
And maybe Cherry Creek. I don't know.
No, they don't. They don't. It's only ski resorts.
Okay.
So yes, you're 100% correct. But my concern is that if the state's backfilling our old URA, will they then backfill this new one additionally?
So I'll
check
the
that.
answer is that it wouldn't have an impact on the way that they look at the backfill. And the reason I say that is because the state looks at your district as a whole. They don't look at necessarily each plan, right? Like each urban renewal plan. And so the state backfill, that total funding formula, if for some reason your school district as a whole, like they'll look at what is the total amount of funding for all of to fund your district based upon your pupil count and those stabilization factors and whatnot. And then how much do you generate in property tax revenue as a district? They'll always backfill that amount, but they're not going to be looking at plan to plan specifics.
Okay, so the backfill actually has nothing to do with URAs.
Exactly.
Okay, interesting.
Okay.
My higher level question is just on page 38, where we start talking about, where y'all start talking about the conclusions and recommendations, kind of goes through, and yes, for the most part, it is, the report's recommending 100% share back. Some of them are 50% and 75%. So I was just wondering, I think I heard you say the plan is required to say 100% of everything, and then you enter into this 120-day negotiation period. Where does that requirement come from? And kind of if we're directing our negotiators to begin that 120-day clock now, where's the direction for that negotiation if it's not the page 38 conclusions and recommendations?
So just to be clear, you're referring to the impact report, right? When you say page 38?
Yes, it is
Okay.
page 38 of the impact report. It says this report recommends the following. The city agrees to share 100% of property tax, 50% of sales tax. School district agrees to share 100%. So it's that portion. It's
Got it.
not all 100%, so I'm wondering, where does the requirement that it say that it's all 100% in the report come from? And then where are the directions to the negotiators and kind of how are we actually figuring that out if we know that the plan is recommending more than what we think we'll end up at? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so starting with the 100% forecast, that's required. When I say it 100% is required by the report, what I mean by that is when we talk about incremental taxes, right? We want to forecast what is if there's a 100% revenue sharing agreement, 100% of the incremental taxes would go to the URA, and we're required to do that by statute. So you understand what this development can generate in total. And then there comes in the revenue sharing agreements. Statute says that all incremental tax revenue belongs to the Urban Renewal Authority. So it belongs to CCARE. So if this plan were to be approved, and this was before House Bill 1348, where you have to negotiate these agreements, still that's in place. Tax increment revenue belongs to the URA. The question during the revenue sharing agreements is really the burden is on the taxing districts. Why should you share less than 100% with the Urban Renewal Authority? And the reason for that are impacts. What my report does and why we flag high-level impacts is that it just means that this development could generate more than 10% of what that district would be taking in every year. And so that's significant. And so that's a significant amount of money. We want to just check and make sure that there's not going to be an undue impact. Sometimes they're like, for example, Fremont County. I believe the report recommends 100% property tax sharing agreement. There may be a reason for Fremont County to say not share a dedicated mill levy to say human services, right? Maybe that comes out of the revenue sharing agreement. Fremont County would express why that is. And so that's how the negotiations go. Big picture though, it's usually, is this going to create a burden on services, this development, that would require a certain amount of the tax revenue to come back to that district so that it's made whole when serving the development.
Thank you. And I think I understood from the initial presentation that a lot of the pre-meetings have been had with the various special districts, and we obviously have representatives of those on the board, but also in the audience. And I think I'd love to hear kind of how some of those conversations went, and if there are concerns from the special districts about starting a 120-day clock now, because this is it is a pretty significant decision, and we're entering the holiday season, and I just want to make sure that that it's the right time and that we understand how those preliminary conversations went. I think I would also just be remiss if I didn't say that it is really exciting to see, just at a very high level, some of your vision for 4 Mile. We obviously have a housing need and a need for more commercial activity out there, so it was just great to see the time and thought and effort that's gone into that piece of it. Thanks.
Okay, anybody else have anything real quick?
Well, could I just, it's not clear to me, at some point I saw where the district went around this area, or are we going to have to vote to bring that area into the urban area? Is that what we're after here?
You're talking about that middle section just north of Charles Bronson Boulevard?
Yes.
That's an area that would remain in the existing urban renewal area. All of the rest of the colored would be in the new urban renewal area. So we'd be taking parcels out of the existing area, putting it into the new one.
Okay.
But that small section would stay in the original area in order to create a catalyst project for other development, but then that could use existing TIF there.
Okay.
So it would not be added later on
Okay,
to the area.
that's kind of what I thought, but I just wanted to make sure.
Yep.
You heard you verbalize it.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Chairman Payne, I just want to point out that Councilman, or Commissioner Hamrick has his hands up.
Okay. Go ahead, John.
Thank you, Chairman. My question, so in reviewing the conditions report, under the environmental contamination area, I did not see any mention of the old Berta truck yard, which is a potential CERCLA cleanup area. Has that been evaluated? I am not looking at the maps. I'm not really sure. I don't know that I have a good idea exactly where that is, but I understand it's pretty contiguous with the propane business that's there now. I'm not sure whether that business is inside or outside the area, but I just want to raise that as something that there may be other agencies involved in cleanup in that area. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hamrick. I'll respond to that quickly. I did not, so part of the condition survey report, when we look at environmental contamination, we go through EPA databases to see if they're flagged, if parcels are flagged for environmental contamination. And the only parcel that I identified, well, the only area that was identified, I believe, was a petroleum storage, underground petroleum storage tank that may had a risk of release, where you see it on that page with that purple dot and also that yellow dot. I know I'm not sharing my screen right now. I did not see anything about this truck yard though in those databases. So if that, when you say potential for a super fund, had that been approved?
Well, so there's a process going on. The EPA has taken, the site has been on the Superfund list since the 1980s. EPA has taken it back to square one. Part of the activities that they will be undertaking is identifying potential areas like the old Berta truck yard, which was involved in transporting uranium ore. And so there's a potential that trucks are washed out in a dirt area there, but there will have to be some measurements, sampling taken to determine whether there is something that needs to be cleaned up there or not.
Is this north of 123 or south of 123? Do you know offhand?
I don't really have a good, idea of where the footprint of the old Berta truck yard is. But my understanding, it was somewhere around the propane dealer.
It was on both sides of the street.
Both
Yeah,
sides.
it was on both
He
sides.
parked his
But
vehicles.
this isn't part of the URA discussion, it should be, right? I mean, this
Well,
isn't
it's
in the
not
area,
that's not in 4 Mile Ranch that I know of.
is it?
No.
Yeah, the propane property and the property directly south is outside of 4 Mile Ranch and outside of our proposed new URA.
Yeah.
Okay.
It
And
just
that
depends on
answers
the-
my question. Thank you.
Anybody else got anything? Got a couple things. On my original packet that I got, it was in, the report recommends the following for the city. It was mentioned in here, all its street improvement fund rates of 1%. Is that the 2A funds that was approved by voters?
That is 2A, and I don't believe it's eligible.
They're not eligible?
Yeah, for share back. That's something we would have to continue to look at and discuss.
Okay, I'm trying to read because I can't hardly hear you, so they're
Oh,
not eligible.
sorry. No.
Okay, because that was approved by voters and, okay,
Correct.
you'd have people knocking down your door. The other thing is, we're looking at $55,845,000 infrastructure costs, basically all taxpayer dollars. And so the only skin in the game you guys have is you own the land, is that right? So I have a problem with all this infrastructure cost that the taxpayers are going to put up. I understand the end game at 25 years, but I'm also just concerned that this thing goes south. What's that impact to my taxpayers? And that's an open question, I understand.
Yeah, I would say that the ownership group has spent millions and millions of dollars on this. And I think it's really important, to Andy's point, to reiterate, this is net new money, net new tax revenue, net new public infrastructure, workforce housing, senior living, students, if we build this bucket and we build it right. So we can not do that and stay status quo, but we have an opportunity to be able to generate new revenue for the city, new workforce housing and new public infrastructure by putting this mechanism together.
Okay, so we're talking more new revenue than we are present revenue, okay?
Yeah, and I think it's so key to understand is that we have a baseline right now of 0, and we can essentially utilize this mechanism to make money and make workforce housing and public infrastructure, more students, et cetera. So it's essentially all positive, all net positive. Andy, do you want to piggyback on that?
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly, Jonathan. But Commissioner Payne, that's a key question, right? Like, who's sharing the burden in all of this? The interesting thing about tax increment financing is it's a performance-based incentive, right? The tax revenue that we're talking about for these negotiations, to Jonathan's point, it doesn't exist right now. In fact, if we look at what this development's generating in taxes today, it's if that whole area, I mean, we're talking about maybe $100,000 in like taxes per year that's being generated on all that vacant land. And if this development were to come into fruition, I mean, we're talking about millions of dollars a year in tax revenue that can be generated. And so the real question is, well, so it would be great if this development could just move forward, right? And we don't have to share any of this or do this URA plan. But the reality is that it can't, because of what you just highlighted, that $56 million gap. And so what we're trying to do is take future tax revenue and fund public infrastructure in the plan so that it can generate the new houses and the new commercial development that in effect generates the tax revenue to pay for that public infrastructure in the first place. And look, there could be a different world in which, I just want to highlight this for a second. Like, you can imagine that, let's just say that the city said, you know what, we're not going to do a URA, and we don't want you to do a metro district either. We believe in 4 Mile enough to go out to a bond issuance for $55 million to our voters. Well, it probably won't get approved, right? And even if it did get approved, then everyone's taxes go up in all of Canyon City. And that's usually a recipe for disaster. And so the idea here is, how do we fund this public infrastructure, public roads, water, and sewer, using this proposed development's future taxes? And that's the math puzzle.
I think it's important to note, too, that I've had the opportunity to meet a number of the investors of this team. And while, this investment team owns the land, some of these investors want to take their own property also out of here and develop vertical. So there still has to be the investment into vertical to make this all work out. And these guys are very excited about the opportunity here. So there will be more skin in the game with the investors, but this is really kind of how, as an example, small example, there are retail stores interested in our community, but we don't have the infrastructure. We don't have the buildings. We don't have developers interested in doing it because we don't have the infrastructure. So this is really kind of what this is all about. But each of those, well, maybe not each of them, but a number of those investors will be investing more into the vertical infrastructure out there.
Okay, anybody else? Commissioner Schmischer.
Thanks, Commissioner Payne. Could we ask for a brief overview of the meetings that have already been had with the special districts? Thanks.
Andy, I think you might do best with that.
All right, and if I forget anything, I'm looking to Rick and Ryan, you guys, to fill in the blanks.
My mic is off, sorry.
My mic is off?
You're good.
No, it was a joke. My mic is off now. Bad joke.
All right. Well, some of the districts that we met with the school district, we met with the county, we obviously have been meeting with the city, and we met with the fire district.
And the rec district.
and the recreation district. Those are the districts that have the largest millage rate in this area. And so we met with each of them. We basically presented largely what we've just talked to you about, the development vision, the public finance strategy, how we plan on utilizing metropolitan districts and other public finance tools outside of the URA to close the gap, and then how we try to utilize the URA to close the gap. And in those conversations, each district brought up some of their concerns, right? With new residents, concerns about their own budgets, concerns about the future. And so we tried to take note of that and be mindful of how we go into these TIF revenue sharing agreements, trying to address those concerns. And that was really the nature of it. It wasn't really a negotiation. It's not supposed to be. It was more just doing our due diligence, talking to, the representatives from these various districts, help them understand what this project is and how we're trying to fund it, and letting them know about the process that the Urban Renewal Authority will take to ultimately get those revenue sharing agreements signed.
And I would add that the conversations were quite positive and encouraging, I would say, generally speaking. And to your question earlier about the timing of the 120-day negotiations, there was one district that was concerned about the timing. We wanted to be here having this conversation, months ago. But there was some concern and sensitivity to elections and election season, and wanting to get past that before we start the 120-day negotiation. So more clear attention can be put towards it. So we feel that this is a good time to get it moving forward.
Thank you. I think it's a little bit awkward because, the city has 4 seats on this board that will change over in January. So I did just want to, it's helpful, I guess, to hear that if 4 Mile Ranch and y'all had your way, this actually would have started many months ago. And it was delayed based on the preliminary conversations had with the districts to make sure that it was being sequenced and timed in a way that worked well for them, and that's why you are seeking to move forward with it now and not continue to delay it further, because there will always be a change in one of the districts or a change somewhere that, and at some point you presumably want us to stop kicking the can down the road.
And if I may, another reason that we did had these conversations was really at the request of the URA. Corey Hoffman recommended that the developer bring up these topics to the taxing entities. It's the Urban Renewal Authority that will negotiate with the taxing entities, but it's the developer's project and their proposal to create a new area. So it was pretty important, and I agree. The conversations by and large went very well. The thing I like about them is that it gave people an opportunity to express their opinions directly to the developer. I was in those meetings. Ryan was in a couple of them too. But it was concerns directly to the developer. So they have skin in the game in this process as well, and they understand. And then Andy takes that information, and you talked about the recommendations not showing 100%. Some of that comes from these types of conversations, and it's much more of a right sizing initially to begin the conversation, and it's really taking the temperature prior to entering that 120 days, because that 120 days is pretty critical. And if you can't come to an agreement in 120 days, then we have to go to arbitration, that word I can never think of. So it was very important to take that temperature, but also, honestly, to me, it's fitting for 4 Mile Ranch to do it because that's how they've been approaching this whole development. And they had a number of conversations with the fire chief prior to that as well. So it's kind of actually pretty impressive to what they've done to prepare to get to this point and hold off long enough to do these conversations so that we are all kind of ready to move forward.
And I think we got to have some of those initial discussions about, first blush of the design and what some of those impacts might be. You know, 4 Mile has one way in and one way out. When you're a fire district, you know, having multiple ways to enter into and evacuate folks is extremely important. So being able to see some of those designs with new roadways and things like that was important, and just, you know, beginning to start understanding what some of those impact discussions might be as we enter into the negotiations.
Okay, anybody else have any questions? Okay.
I just want to make sure, I mean, we are not accepting the impact assessment and the conditions assessment. We are simply starting the 120-day clock, because it does seem like there may be a couple of little things in there. We can't legally share back any of the 1% of the 2A money, for example. And I know Commissioner Reeser expressed some concerns about the MLO and the bonding of the school district mills. So we're not saying like we as a board agree with everything that's in the impact assessment. We're simply, y'all have created this, you're presenting it to us, and we're saying, okay, we're ready to begin the clock on negotiations. Okay, thank you for that
Correct.
clarification.
That is correct.
You stole my thunder, that's what I was going to ask. That's okay, you did it better than I could, so.
Yeah, it's strictly permission to enter into negotiations.
So as chairman, I'm going to ask, we have representatives from special district here. Does anybody else want to speak right now? Chief? Chief Delvecchio, Fire Chief.
Good evening, everyone. Couple of things. We had some very fruitful discussions about the project in the past. I know I don't think anybody that's on city council was here the last time we had URA discussions, which got a little stressful at points. I just want to explain some of the things on the fire district side of things. I can tell everyone here one thing. I've spoken to many, many fire chiefs across the state, especially with my involvement on the state level, and there's not a fire chief in the state that has been a champion of a URA, primarily because of our funding mechanism. And I know in our discussions, the state has enacted certain things that have adversely affected us over the last 3 and 4 years, and it will continue to do that. So our funding is a serious concern for us. I know looking at the impact report, there's definitely going to be some discussion happening with the fire district. I know our board members and some of our firefighters are already starting discussions about what's going on with another URA. This coming year, 2026, because of state mandates, losing $1.97 million that I can't access. Current year right here, 25, we lost $1.1 million. As a special fire district, we cannot continue to do that and then look at additional revenue losses. So I do understand the concept of this URA versus the other URA, and maybe I'll be the first fire chief in the state that would lend support to the URA, but
This is being recorded, by the way.
that's all right.
Sounds like a good retirement goal.
I can guarantee the members, what's that?
Sounds like a good retirement goal.
Well, yeah, that too, but, I can guarantee the URA board here that there will be serious discussions, serious concerns on the fire district side of things because of the finance side of things. The other concern I have for us, my district right now, is the timing. This is not a good time for us to start negotiations with the end of the year. Being a smaller agency, a lot of that falls onto myself and my minimal staff. So between now and mid-January, we're pretty much straight out on that aspect. So I don't know what the discussions might be on starting the timeline. If it's approved and we start today, we'll make it work. But they're just like last time with the URA. This time, there's so much unforeseen funding issues happening with a special district such as a fire district, especially a fire district, that there will be a lot of caution exercised on our part if we try and move forward with this. We didn't want to go to arbitration last time. We don't want to go to arbitration this time. I can more or less guarantee you that. So I'm sure we'll come to some agreement, but my personal thought, and Tim Payne's our chairman on our fire district board, but right now is not the best time for us to start the 120-day clock. January would be much better, but that's up to the URA board to decide. But we will participate to the level that we need to try and make this work. As a resident of the Canyon City, I would hope that the development does kick off and takes hold, and it doesn't take 10 years to get fully built out and what have you. But on that side of things is my positive aspect. On the fire chief side of things, I'm very leery as to where we're going to go from here. So, but I thank you for allowing me to provide
Okay.
that input.
So Andy and Catherine, maybe, or Ryan, I think the clock starts officially when the URA sends a letter to the taxing entities, if I'm correct on that, right?
Yeah, and I think that's a great point, Rick, and thank you, Chief, for bringing that concern up. Typically, this board would provide the executive director and staff the direction to send out the impact report, the plan, condition survey, and a letter saying, here's the board has studied this area and is wishing to enter into negotiations. Whenever that's sent out is really the start of the 120-day clock. So you don't have to officially start it today. It usually starts when you send that letter out with the impact report and other documents.
Okay, Commissioner Reeser.
I have the same concern. We don't have another board meeting until the 12th of January. We're breaking for Christmas break, so January would be better for us too.
Okay. Anybody else in the audience? Kyle Horn from the Recreation District.
A lot of what I have to say is pretty much echoing what the chief said. I think what Robin has said. Obviously, we view URA. Essentially, we looked at it when we discussed this in 2020 as a partnership. We understand that. We respect that. And we think that there are benefits to this. I know Tim Payne and I have had discussions on how the URA has been effective at different times. And Tim Payne does come in a couple times a year and gives us a report as to what's happening and keeps us up to date. So that is great. But one thing that has changed in the game is most of us, or all of us now, because of the changes in property tax, we're no longer debruced. Even though the voters debruced us years ago, the fire district's in that boat, we're in that boat, and we're kind of living that reality now. So you kind of get hamstrung on growth of 5.25% every year or 10.5 every 2 years. And so there are some impacts there, and we are low funded. Budgets are tight, I think, in our area, and so we just say keep that in mind as we move forward. We understand that it is a partnership. That's fine. We're willing to keep an open mind and have conversations. I know everybody will look at it from a time standpoint. In all reality, when is a good time? You will always find something. We will always have something going on. But when the 120-day clock starts ticking, it starts ticking. But it's 120 days, I think, for a reason. It gives us time to meet, and I think the last time we went through this process, I think we even, I think with a couple of entities, it went past the 120 days by an agreement. So if the clock ticks, it ticks. But the only thing I would say is I also know you have a new mayor coming on, 3 new council members, by the way. Nice to see the 3 council members, the new ones, were here in the room. I think that's great. And so we understand some of the faces will change. If you guys send out the letter tomorrow, you send out the letter tomorrow. That's up to you. We understand that. If you want to wait till January 1, you wait till January 1. I know that no matter what, we have the holidays, just like the school district, everything else. We'll probably have a discussion at our next board meeting on Tuesday. We have an executive session already called. So we'll start discussing a couple of things there, but then we really probably won't dive into anything until January at that point. But I don't think we're different than the fire district or the school district or anybody else. So probably it's January. So if that's what y'all choose to do and wait till January, you wait till January. If you want to get rolling now, that's your choice. We don't get a vote. And that's the way it works. But we will keep an open mind. We're willing to talk. We're willing to discuss. I think you heard from the fire chief as well. I mean, they're gonna look at it, but we all understand budgets are tight, and I'm quite sure this development's tight as well. But if this does develop, it's a win for the community as a whole, right? I mean, obviously you want to see some things, so we understand that, but we also understand that we have to provide services for that community and for that development also. So it is a double-edged sword. So I just say we keep that in mind. All right. Thank you.
Thanks. Anybody else from the audience? Okay. Anybody have any recommendations on when a letter might be sent out? Yes, ma'am.
Could I ask, does it, from a development standpoint and from what y'all are trying to accomplish at 4 Mile, could I ask, does it matter if the letter is sent out tomorrow or if it's sent out January 1? I mean, I'm conscious of the fact that it sounds like we have already asked you to delay for several months, and I just want to be cognizant of the fact as well that, as I think, hopefully you know it from all of us and everyone who's come up to the mic, like, we are excited about 4 Mile Ranch and about what you guys are trying to accomplish out there. And the last thing we would want to do is unintentionally, cause additional issues or concerns. So it would be helpful to hear kind of your perspective on that. Thanks.
And thank you for that. Really appreciate that. Andy, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would say that January works great for us. It's the holidays, and there's a lot of people with a lot of good and necessary distractions during the holidays. We have plenty of work to do on our end that'll keep us busy through the holidays. So if it's a January 1st start or somewhere around there, we're grateful for that. Thank you. Andy?
January 5th is the first Monday.
January 5th is the first Monday, you said?
January 5th is the first Monday.
Okay.
Yeah, and Jonathan, I think that's fine. I don't see delaying a few weeks in terms of the negotiations hurting us at all. In fact, I think it provides us with more time to have meaningful conversations because we don't want to burn a month through the holidays and we can't meet with anybody.
Andy, are there any issues with sending that slide deck out to the districts and to the council members?
No, I'm happy to share it.
Yeah,
And
let's
Ricky,
get
feel free
that
share
out
it
to
too.
everyone. so
Council
that-
members have it.
Yeah, it's very
And
productive.
we have them.
Any other discussion, questions?
I just have a comment, and then I'll make a motion if no one else has anything to say.
Okay.
I just want to encourage all the entities to get behind this. I think we have a great opportunity in front of us, and we need to take advantage of that. We've been stagnant. I've heard the word stagnant quite a bit, and I'm tired of being stagnant. So investing is risky, but if you don't reinvest in your community, you just kind of stay stagnant or go the wrong way. So I just encourage everyone to keep an open mind and get behind this idea. Okay. And I'll make a motion if anyone else.
Put your motion together.
I'd like to approve to authorize the executive director and staff to enter into negotiations with the taxing entities towards the creation of a new 4 Mile Ranch urban renewal area.
With a start date of January 5th?
With a start line of January 5th.
Second.
Kathy, you second?
I did.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hamrick,
Aye.
Maloney,
Aye.
Reeser,
Aye.
Schmisher,
Aye.
Stein,
Aye.
Troutman,
Aye.
Worthington,
Aye.
Chairman Payne.
No. Okay, motion carries. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, everyone.
So we have item C, URA grant discussion and direction.
Chairman Payne, given that we are butting up to the end of the hour and we have another meeting here, staff would recommend moving this to the January agenda.
Sounds good. Okay. Anybody have anything else? No further discussion. We are adjourned.